Hey, everybody. I am here with college baseball's most famous psychopath, Wes Burton. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm doing great, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You seem really calm today.
It's 9 a.m. and I haven't had any caffeine or anything yet to get me bouncing off the walls. There's no hitter. There's no hitter about 60 feet that way that I'm staring down and wanting to annihilate. So it's
So yeah,
March
one of
today.
the questions that I had is, what the heck is wrong with you?
I think a lot of things. Where do you want me to start? Kind of a
um,
laundry list.
you're such a nice dude, like off the field, and then when you get on the bump, you are like literally, you look like you want to rip a batter's head off. Like, what's up with that?
I mean, honestly, it's just like it's a frame of mind. I'm a different person when I'm out on the mound. I think hopefully you and other people would agree with that. That I'm not as crazy off the field as I am on. Um, I mean, it's just really how I get locked in to go perform, and it kind of works for me. And um, I've always kind of done it to a certain extent. I've never really had the quite the level of cameras on me as I have here at Ole Miss, and I think that's really when it almost was brought to my attention that I kind of did that. There was no like 8 camera setup of my high school league game against Viewpoint or whomever. Um, but that was just always my way to sort of lock in and attack the hitter and keep myself focused. Honestly, people, I think the lip reading and stuff on social media, people think that it's just me like cussing out the hitter or cussing out myself into my glove. But a lot of it is honestly just more keeping myself locked into each pitch and what my precise focus is, and what I'm trying to execute, or like if I miss somewhere, like it happened the other night. um, I had like a 1-1 fastball away that I just was being a donkey and just like kind of let it go, and it was like high and glove side and just not competitive. And so that was kind of what I barked to myself, was that I've got to make that competitive at least. If I can miss, but if I'm gonna miss in a more competitive spot where I can get something out of it at least, not just out of the zone and going off into the distance.
So is most times is it you're talking to yourself, or you're talking at the hitter, or a combination of two?
It's definitely a combination. There is times where it is very hitter oriented, um, but it's not all the time. I feel like the perception is that it's all the time, just like screw you hitters, like something like that. That's the PG version. But a lot more of it is like go execute this pitch. Like if there's a certain cue that I'm feeling in my mechanics or anything like that, that's what I'm kind of really getting at.
So I had interviewed Tyler Glassnow, who also pitches angry, and he
Yeah.
said the reason he does it is to tune everything out, and because sometimes he'll get nervous or overthink things, and if you pitch angry, you don't think about anything other than just killing the other person on the other side. Is that some of why you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easy, especially, I mean, we're tremendously fortunate here at Ole Miss that like, I mean, there's on a normal day, obviously without any kind of restrictions, we'd get 8 to 10 plus thousand fans there, and that's a very um, kind of easily distracted environment if you let it. Um, but even there's my neighbor who she's an older woman who I've spent time kind of taking care of a little bit. Um, she's at the games now, and she was sitting with my mom, and I saw her yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, did you hear me screaming for you? I was yelling. Did you hear me?" I'm like, "I didn't hear anything." And she's like, "Oh, well, everybody else heard me." I'm like, "I have no doubts about that. I'm not doubting that you were screaming. It's just you're so kind of locked into the moment, and it helps. I think the pitch angry thing, like it, if you direct so much of your focus just to the hitter, you can't you can't really get distracted at that point. And so that's really kind of where it comes in for me.
That makes sense. Do you find, so one of the things I think with coaching is coaches a lot of times will try to bake that out of a player. Like, hey, you can't do that. You have to be even keeled. You have to be the Corey Kluber types or the Kyle Hendricks type that you will not show emotion, just,
Yeah.
and what I find coaching everybody is not only the mechanics differ, but also mental game cues differ. How have you struggled with coaches trying to bake that out of you, or have you struggled with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think again, I'm super lucky. Coach Bianco here at Ole Miss is really the reason that I came here. Obviously, there's a ton of other amazing things about the university and about the baseball program, but really when it came down to it was I came here to play for Coach B. And one of the things that I love and that I'm extremely fortunate to have here is that he loves the emotion and he wants us to pitch with the emotion. And you look at a guy like Doug Nikhazy, who starts for us on the weekend, who really came in his freshman year. Yeah, he's got the shoulders thing, the big deep breath.
Yep.
Like all of that, and is just the same way that if he makes a big pitch, he'll get fired up out there on the mound. And that's something that coach really likes. And there are some more guys that are, I guess, a little bit more even keel. But he never has said or made it like appear at all to us like the emotion or anything like that is a negative. And he wants us just to like harness it in a way that it's beneficial to us. And so that's something I'm really, really lucky to have here. Definitely have had coaches previously when I was a little bit younger that like, hey man, you got to just dial it down. Like, make sure you're like respecting the game and like doing everything the right way, and just don't make it about you. Just go out there, make the pitches, which is great. And I think everyone kind of has their takes about that, but I think you have to be true to yourself when you're out there, and that's rolled out of bed kind of a psychopath. So
I think it helps grow the game. I think grow the game actually, because people want to see different stuff. If everybody's a robot, we can have robots playing the game, and if nobody makes a mistake, nobody gets angry. No, but I think letting everybody see that you can be different out there and add a little twist to things brings more fans into it too. You see what happens. Like I tweet you out there and everybody's like, oh, I love this guy. Like 99% of the comments are favorable about it. And it's not fake. Like this is you. I think people could tell if it was a fake thing, but it's you being you and trying to perform at your best. Do you agree that this kind of helps bring fans? And do you have a fan base at Ole Miss of people like going, I love when you're out there?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the really cool thing, and something I gotta give my mom credit here is that she really instilled in me growing up that there's no inherent value in being able to throw a ball. There's just not. It's really the only value there is to the extent it brings you joy in doing it, and that it can bring others joy in watching you do it and be an entertainment product. And ultimately that's what sports are. Is it's great for us that are out there competing, that like it's a blast for us to go do it. Otherwise we probably wouldn't be doing it. But probably bigger than that is that there's a community of people who follow baseball, who follow college baseball, who follow professional baseball, that like enjoy the entertainment of it. And so if I can make like a couple of people smile on Twitter because they see me talking into my glove, you know what I mean? That's really what it's all about, and helps grow the game. Because I've heard you talk about it before, like baseball kind of has a marketing problem, and that there are people who are in the game who we love it and think it's great, but we're struggling to get more people into the game. And it's kind of comes across as this lame, boring sport that takes a long time. And so if me doing what I'm going to do out there and get all fired up and talk to myself and fist pump in a 9-1 game, as you called me out for, and that brings some more people into the game, I think that's awesome. And I'm going to keep doing that.
What pitchers do you look up to? Like, obviously you're at a great school playing at the highest level. Who do you look up to both from a pitching standpoint and from an like who influences you?
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a role model, I mean, Max Scherzer's definitely a guy in the mix there. He brings that intensity, and I don't really think I've done anything to earn the comparison between the two of us. It's kind of a high bar to set on a college kid to compare me to a like multi-time Cy Young Award winner guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But definitely a guy that I've modeled my game after, just seeing the way he goes out there and competes relentlessly. I grew up in LA, so watching Clayton Kershaw, definitely, I think the way Kershaw has gone about his career in terms of, first of all, staying in one place and really dedicating himself to the community is something I really look up to. The way that he, I think, is really passionate about community service and his Kershaw's Challenge Foundation and stuff like that, being able to give back to the community and not just being like, hey, man, I throw a ball every fifth day and then I'm shut off from the world for 4 days and then go back out there and do it again. But also just seeing his kind of work ethic and stuff, seeing how personally he took and how painful it was for us Dodger fans for a number of years, seeing us go and then get to the NLCS or get to the World Series and not get it done, and how personally he really took that challenge to ultimately get us to win a World Series. I really admire that.
My mic was off. Remember I said I wasn't going to mess up?
Too cocky.
Yeah, I know. That's what you get for being cocky. So one of the things that I don't think people know about you, because I've seen these, oh, he's like John Rocker out there. I'm like, I know about you, and I know how doing things for the community, doing things for place like Lost Boys, I know how good your grades are and everything like that. You're just like a good dude who's just a little bit crazy when he gets out there, but you do a lot of good stuff, and I think people need to know about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's, again, we're given an opportunity to, and really a platform as athletes to positively impact the community and positively impact the lives of others. And so I would really be remiss if I didn't take advantage of that. And the only reason that I'm here and I have the opportunity to do what I do is because of the kind of opportunities throughout my life that I've had, where you look at youth baseball, you look at kind of the travel baseball circuit, if you will, and that is really, that prices out a lot of people. And I was lucky to grow up in a household where, like, if I needed a new pair of cleats, like, we could go to Dick's Sporting Goods and get a new pair of cleats. Or like if my glove ripped or something, like, we could get a new glove and I could go play in the tournaments and do stuff like that. And that's probably one of the reasons that I'm here, is that I was in a household and in a family situation where we could make those things happen. And that's not available to everybody. Not only is it not available to everybody, it's not available to probably a majority of the population. And that's really frustrating to me, seeing that, kind of like we were talking about earlier, that baseball has a marketing problem, and that there's kind of a select group at the top who is able to really engage with the game and be a part of it. And everyone else kind of sees it as like, how do I get in there? I can't make that happen to go like play on the travel circuit, to get noticed or get recruited or anything like that. And so how the heck am I going to turn my natural athleticism into potentially a college scholarship if I can't even go out and play? And so that's where I think stuff like you're doing with Flat Ground app, and then trying to support organizations like Lost Boys and Levante, and just the awesome work that they're doing, not only to make baseball more accessible, but just to like improve the lives of those kids and give them the opportunities to be successful in the classroom first and foremost, because that's really where those opportunities all start. As if you can't be successful in the classroom, like could throw the ball 500 miles an hour and it wouldn't matter because those opportunities are going to go away. And so for guys like Levante to be able to give those kids a chance to succeed that they wouldn't have had otherwise, just because of their kind of life experience, I think is awesome. And I have this platform, especially here at Ole Miss, where if we're going to have that kind of fan attendance, those are people who love us and who look at us and want to support us in anything that we do. And so why would I not leverage that to try to improve the lives of others, to try to use that to generate attention and bring in resources for Levante to be able to use to kind of continue to grow Lost Boys and to help people back home. I just think that's awesome.
And I mean, your personal grades, I know from a previous call, I'm going to call you out, but they're really good. Like it's your mom though, right? I mean, your mom being a lawyer, she probably instilled that into you. Your mom's one of the great baseball moms on Twitter. She is fantastic and is your biggest fan. And I actually drew a picture of you and her. I mean, this is before I even knew who you were. I drew it.
Yes.
She asked.
That was you. You killed Mother's Day for every Mother's Day in the future. I could never top that. She tweeted out she wanted a stick figure drawing from you, and you drew the little picture in Microsoft Paint or whatever your drawing platform of choice is, and I mean that about made her week at that point. And yeah, I mean she's the reason that this is all possible. And I can't give her enough credit. She's my number one supporter. I'm lucky to have her. She's in town right now for the next couple days. But she's what has made everything possible, whether it be the academic opportunities that I've had to go to the high school I went to and really get a fantastic high school education, and then to come here to Ole Miss and have kind of every door be open for me. I can't thank her enough. I can't give her enough credit. She's amazing, and I love her very much.
So now let's go to your glove. So not only are you a psychopath on the mound, your glove actually adds to it. Tell me about the history of your 100 or die glove and your 100 or die just mindset and motto.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it just there. I think it really is a mindset more than anything else. And it extends off the field more so even than it does on the field, I think. Really what 100 or die is about is doing everything that I possibly can to get there, to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. I obviously, I don't know if I'll be able to get there. I don't think anyone does, but really what it's about is going about my work a certain way every single day. And whether that be in the weight room, whether that's doing conditioning outside or my daily throwing program, making sure I get my dynamic warm up and all that stuff in, just having that in the back of my mind that literally I will do everything it takes until my body can't take it anymore, until it falls apart.
You know what I like about that, thinking about it, is not that it's showy, more because you're putting it out there. So you're saying like, this is you're identifying with that phrase, and it makes you have to live up to it. Like if you were just saying, this is my personal goal, I'm going to do this, and nobody knew about it, it'd be totally different than you standing out there talking to yourself, talking to the batter with your 100 or die glove in front of you, and everybody now knows it. You kind of have to live that, right? I mean, so it's putting yourself out there.
I mean, it's great because it keeps me honest that, like, I mean, I get trolled on Twitter and Instagram and everything for it, that it's like, oh, this guy says he wants to throw 100. I see him throwing 93. Like that's 7 miles an hour off. That's not 100. It's like, yeah, I'm not saying that I currently throw 100. That'd be sick. And that's obviously the goal. But I think more so, and even I've had this conversation with kind of trainers that I've had in the past that like, that's my goal, not because I think it'd be sick to throw 100 to the backstop once or twice. But that's because my ultimate goals in baseball, I think you see the way baseball is going and that guys aren't throwing the ball slower. And that's really the way I see having the best shot to reach my goals is, man, you got to be really good to throw the ball 88 miles an hour and command it and like get in the Hall of Fame doing that. Like you can't miss. Whereas if you throw 100, I remember hearing Glasnow, you mentioned it, hearing him talk when he went to the Rays is with the Pirates, they were saying like, oh, try to like hit the corners of the zone and like paint the black and everything. Goes to the Rays and they're like, man, you throw 100, just throw it down the middle. It's probably not going to go there. So like just pound the zone with your like 100-mile-an-hour fastball and 83-mile-an-hour curveball with a million inches of depth and like all that. Just like throw it in the zone as hard as you can. And I think where it really comes in to try to throw the ball that hard is that it gives you a little bit more room for error. And I think that's where I have a better shot to reach my ultimate goals on the field by throwing a little bit harder.
Well, I also think your whole pitching angry thing and stuff, if you were throwing 85, I don't know, maybe it would work. I mean, Casey doesn't light up the gun, does he? What's he top out at?
I've seen him up to like 92, 93.
Okay.
Yeah. But he kind of settles in more in that kind of like 88, 91 range.
And he's filthy. Like he's just, yeah, he's really, really good. I wanted to give him some credit because like I love watching him pitch. I love his, like, again, same thing. He's himself on the bump. You can tell, and he has a different way of dominating folks.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it works with you too. Like, number one, you're a 6'8" dude. So it's going to take, like, from what I see, taller guys, and you've probably heard it a million times and you probably feel it, is that it's kind of tough to control all those limbs when you're younger. When you do end up timing it up, you'll reap the benefits from it. But in the meantime, you have to keep moving athletically and kind of grow into that. And you do move athletically on the mound. I mean, everybody sees that. It's not like you're a stiff board out there.
Look like I'm throwing a javelin on the mound.
A little bit. Well,
that's where I had kind of, in high school, I was more of a kind of like a low 3/4 kind of guy. And then really I had kind of taken a deep dive into the pitch metrics and Rapsodo and TrackMan and all that kind of stuff, and figuring out, okay, so I could throw the ball in high school. I would kind of settle in around 90 miles an hour. So if I'm going to throw the ball this hard, how do I have the most success I can possibly have? And that is getting out of the dead zone of fastball tilts and movement in the like 12 to 16 vertical break range, either throwing a Dustin May turbo sinker and having it have like 8 inches of vertical movement and a ton of run, or throwing the James Karinchak, Tyler Glasnow straight ride, Walker Buehler, just stay right behind it, backspin the crap out of it. And I kind of figured out that with my body and the way I move, I would have a better shot getting my tilts higher, closer to 12 o'clock. And so that's really when you see my mechanics, I look a little funky. Someone had mentioned it, kind of the likeness to Karinchak, where we both really strongly lateral torso bend to get straight up here at release and then just throw the ball straight downhill with a ton of backspin. And that's really what I kind of set out to do is, if I'm going to, until I throw the ball 100 miles an hour, I need to have success. And I still need to have success after I throw the ball 100 miles an hour, hopefully. And I think the way to do that is to develop a fastball that will get swing and miss and then throw it into the strike zone. And so the best way I could figure out how to develop a swing and miss fastball was to get as much vertical break as I possibly could. And so that was where the lateral torso bend came in, and the kind of javelin-esque mechanics of just looking like I'm throwing the ball like over the stadium and then just like flipping down on it.
Do you have hitters that tell you that that's like The one thing I don't think a lot of people get is people are so focused on efficient mechanics that they
Yeah.
leave out deceptive mechanics and things that
Yeah.
get hitters out versus you want to move efficiently. Your most efficient way of moving may not be the way that you're going to get hitters out. Do you have hitters that tell you that it's a little funky?
Yeah, that was actually, I got to give Trey LaFleur, outfielder, first baseman for us. I got to give him a lot of credit because it was really in the kind of winter gap between the fall of my first year here and then the spring last year where I really made the kind of big arm slot. It's not really an arm slot shift, but like the big kind of body shift to get a lot more over the top. And we came back in inter squads, and he had seen me a couple of times in the fall, and gotten some decent swings off. And then I faced him the first weekend of spring inter squads before the season. And he's like, dude, did you change your arm slot? Because I just can't see the ball. I just can't see it at all. And so I really got to give him some credit there where I spent some time after that talking to him and sort of figuring out what it was that made it so deceptive. And I think it's just, first of all, as you touched on, I'm 6'8". So I'm always going to throw the ball from a higher release point, and then I get a lot of extension out towards the hitter. So those are two kind of deceptive things, that the ball's coming out of a slot that they're not used to it coming out of. Like our catchers tell me I release the ball above the batter's eye in center field, which is kind of not ideal for them catching it. But that was, it kind of goes to the deception that like I throw the ball from a higher point than anyone else really expects, and then reach out to the plate a lot. And it just kind of, there's a lot of moving parts with being a gigantic human being when I throw the ball. And so I think that can be a little bit distracting too. I don't really do that intentionally. That's just kind of a byproduct of what happens. But hey, I'm not complaining about the results from it. And then throwing a fastball with a ton of backspin at like a perfect 12 o'clock axis kind of all plays together to hopefully get me a pretty good swing and miss fastball, and then a plane that I can throw a good changeup with a lot of depth off of, and then a slider with some good horizontal movement as well.
Have you thought about adding a 12-6 curveball to that?
I've always dabbled with it. And it's a pitch I have really good feel for, but one of the struggles of being up top, because I think you look at all of the other guys that are really that high, the kind of Fairbanks, Karinchak, Glasnow, all those guys are like fastball curveball guys. Like you rarely see a fastball slider guy from that kind of tilt. But one of the things I've struggled with is getting the curveball to a point where I can throw it hard enough. And I can throw it at 74, 75, 76. But you look at all those guys, if the fastball is 95, the curveball is like 82. And that's where I think the slider at like 82, 84, like touch 85, 86 sometimes is a better weapon for me because it's harder and it's going to hold the plane a little bit better. It's going to have more of that negative vertical approach angle, which is something we really preach here with breaking balls, is if I'm going to throw my fastball 4 degrees down, let's try to find a breaking ball that also comes out of my hand going down. So that's kind of in that sort of tunneling kind of ether, if you will, where it's not so much does it look the same on video, or like, can we make a sick overlay? I'm not talking crap about your overlays.
Right, I see how it is.
Yeah, fine. I love your overlays. I would love maybe I'll throw some sliders one of these games, and we can.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're just throwing heaters. That's what it seems like to me.
I might as well Trevor Bauer glove sign him at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, just getting that vertical approach angle down to where it mimics the fastball as close as possible, and then kind of has the like late break, if you will.
Well, we got to get Karinchak to share his curveball grip, because I can see that. Like if you can get that from that arm slot and keep your slider, but it gives you one more weapon that if you're really coming out from like above the batter's eye, they're never going to pick anything up anyway, and it's just going to drop out of the sky. It could be filthy. Yeah,
no, and it's something like working with Coach B and Coach Lafferty, our pitching coach, or our second pitching coach, might we say. Coach B is also our pitching coach here. it's something, the curveball that I throw currently is, it has a ton of depth, like 18 to 20 inches of depth, but just getting the velo on it a little bit higher to the point where kind of we're likely to get more swings and miss. Whereas I think right now, kind of in that mid 70s range, it's much more of a kind of an auto take pitch, if you will. And then it becomes, how much can you throw it in the box? And right now I feel like I can throw the slider in the box more. So we're kind of going to go take that. Obviously my fastball is my primary weapon, but then we're looking for what's a second and third pitch we can throw in the box a lot. And right now I think it's the slider, but definitely something that I want to continue to develop is the curveball.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, before we go, I want you to pretend I'm a hitter and pretend I just asked a really bad question, like your GPA. And how would you stare me down? Like, pretend you're going to pitch to me. Get in gear. I know it's going to be really tough for you because I'm such a nice guy and you can't really do it. But pretend I'm not. Like, pretend I'm I don't know. I'm talking to do you know Ryan Bliss at Auburn? I
do not.
Okay, so he's their shortstop, and I'm talking to him later today. My son played with him for years. So pretend I'm a hitter that's trying to go yard. Yeah, you're already getting mad. You can put your glove up if you want to do that. Yeah, so you
don't behind my glove.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. But here we go.
Do I have to talk out loud, or am I?
If you want to talk out loud, you can absolutely. No. Like, give me. All right, so say you spiked a couple pitches. You're pissed off. You're in a hostile park. Everybody's yelling at you, going, "Man, you stink." What are you gonna do?
Rob, you're out. You're out, Rob. I don't know. This is so terrible. This is atrocious.
You can't do it.
I'm not letting you use that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to use that. No, you can't do it. Like, you're too nice.
No, it's I gotta you gotta go downstairs, put the uniform on, like go outside, like take the Zoom meeting out to the mound, and like get you a little monitor that you're standing in the box, and we'll get a catcher down there, and then that's our best shot.
I actually like the fact that you can't do it, because it shows that you can flip a switch. Like, the best players, I think a lot of them can flip a switch when they go out there to compete that they don't do in real life. Like, you can be an ordinary good dude in real life and get out there and be a complete, jackass. Which, like, Liam Hendricks told me that. Like, Liam said he's an egotistical narcissist on the bump, and in real life he's not. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that's, to the extent you can flip a switch. And either, I was listening to an interview from Jose Mourinho, the famous soccer coach, yesterday. It was like, you can't win with nice guys, and I don't think that's in the sense that, like, you can't be a nice guy off the field, but like when you get on the field or on the mound or on the pitch or anything, like you have to be gunning for them. You have to not only want to win, like, I think as a pitcher, you have to want to embarrass the hitter. You have to want to destroy them and have it be so clear to everybody watching that you are better than them. I think that has to be the mindset. And then off the field, it's just how quickly do you flip the switch back? And it's literally, I cross the steps into the dugout and get a fist bump from Coach B, and he's like, "Hey, great job today, you're done." And then I'm on the rail talking to my teammates and hanging out and watching the game.
Do you ever have a hitter on the other side say, "Dude, we're going. Like, we're after this game, we're going out and throwing down"?
I've never had any kind of response like that, but I will say the best chirp that I've ever gotten was, I was starting against Southern Miss last year. In my second outing, I'm pitching against Louisville, and then like the week after, starting against Southern Miss, and I was a little bit, I won't say out of my element, but I struggled kind of transitioning from that bullpen role into a starting role, and kind of like trying to not be quite as fired up the whole time, And then after like the second batter, one of the guys in the dugout was like, "Hey, why don't you talk to yourself a little more?" One of their guys chirps me with that. I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I probably should. I probably should just go back to what worked the weekend before." And so that was one of my favorite chirps of all time. Just like it ended up helping me, but I thought it was funny.
What else do you hear from folks? Like, I mean, clearly you're a animated character. You probably hear a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of chirps, whether it's like I'm trying to throw the ball hard and grunting, and it's like throw like two balls in a row, and they're like, "Oh, like guy
Throw
can't throw a
harder.
strike, just go up there and take." And it's like, nah, man, like my strike percentage on the year is like 65 something percent. So like that's not gonna really be a good plan for you, but go ahead. Just why don't you take every pitch and you'll just see three and go back to the dugout. Um, I mean, I'm able to tune out most of it. I think that's kind of the only notable one that I can remember being like, that was kind of clever. But
So, so the
because
pitching
it also
angry
it
thing.
ended up helping me. It kind of calmed me down, and I was like, yeah, don't be someone who's different. Like go be yourself out there. It doesn't matter that it's the first inning versus the eighth inning. Like just go do it.
It's interesting how being in character actually can cause that to happen. Like
Yeah.
it now is a comfort zone for you that it helps you tune everything out. It helps you be who you are. And I love the fact that they don't boil that out of you. Like I think a lot of coaches would sit there and say like what you said, hey, respect the game, do it. But it's a new day right now. And we need to bring in more fans. We need to let people be themselves. We need to let this 6'8" monster eat. So it's a bunch of different things, but I think it's awesome. And I think kudos to the coaches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can't give them enough credit for kind of letting me be myself and go out there, and I've figured out over the years what makes me successful, and they're just like, hey man, more power to you. Go talk to yourself and just make sure you're always talking to yourself. Like if you go in there in a 9-1 game, as you again called me out for, yeah, I'm gonna fist pump and I'm gonna talk to myself and I'm gonna go crazy because that's when my number's called and I'm in the game. Like that's doesn't matter. Like doesn't matter the situation or anything. It could be tied, or we could be up one in the bottom of the ninth, or it could be a blowout and we're running me out there to get an inning in or something. Like I'm this is my chance to compete, so I'm gonna go do it. I'm not gonna change.
So say you're going into a big, like a final. And do you ever talk to yourself? Like, is there like ever that same competitiveness that you're like, don't, Wes, this is yours. Make this exam, do you
Win this
ever?
question. Win
Yeah,
this
I mean,
question.
does it ever translate to academics too? Like that competitiveness, the competitiveness with yourself to try to make yourself better.
Definitely there is kind of that competitiveness a little bit where I don't know, in the days of like online classes and proctored exams and stuff, I can't really do the whole like talking to myself thing while I'm taking a quiz or a test on my laptop because I think they'd think I was cheating. Where I'm like saying all the questions out loud and something, or they'd think I'd have someone like right here that's like actually taking the test for me. But no, it definitely that competitiveness comes out. I don't think to the same extent, obviously, as pitching, but that competitiveness is definitely there, and I mean, it's a challenge, and I think I treat most challenges with a version of that kind of energy and that focus.
Did you, and last question, do you ever say anything funny to yourself on the bump too? Like, is there anything that you kind of crack yourself up? I know when you were looking at signs the other day, it cracked me up when you're in character and then you gave that look like what?
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you almost break character, or you're saying something funny to yourself to get yourself fired up?
I don't know if I'm like intentionally saying anything funny. I think there's probably some stuff that would be funny to other people, but we'll have to wait, see how much attention people on social media can get behind the Mike Up West movement, and see if our media department will take the risk on that one.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not looking good.
as I know that Shane Bieber commented on it, and he's like,
Yes.
he's like saying he's actually, because Shane had the same thing where he pitched angry in college and he dialed it back, but he was like, man, this guy's like dropping F-bombs out there going F you, and it's made an impression to Cy Young winners.
Hey, that's something, I guess. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I mean, I'll take it, I guess.
It's a thing.
But well, it always seems that the cameras are on when I once in a while drop an F-bomb. I will just say that. It always seems every clip that I see, the F-bombs aren't that frequent. It's just every time I end up on your Twitter is when I've dropped an F-bomb. It seems to me. I don't feel like I dropped that many F-bombs on the mound, but it's always the cameras are focused when I do occasionally slip an F-bomb in there.
Well, what did you say last time? I didn't see an F-bomb. So last time it looked like you were mouthing something, your last outing that I caught when I said, I don't think it was an F-bomb. I couldn't tell what it was.
There was someone got it on Twitter or what I think was close, because I don't always remember exactly what I'm saying. But the last one was, I remember it was like a 1-2 count or an 0-2 count. And I had gotten like a fastball away. And it was like something to the effect of like the hitter, like you're not ready for 95 or something like that. Because I was like, okay, 2 outs, like 1-2 count, fastball away is always the pitch that I feel like I can throw the hardest. So I was just going to let it fly. And so that was, it was, I can't remember the exact quote, but someone had tried to lip read it and they may have gotten it spot on, because I don't actually know what I was saying. But it seemed like what I thought I might have been saying.
So you're kind of a blackout psycho.
Yeah. No, it's not everyone. I'll never forget when you had first kind of blown up my Twitter page against Louisville last year, and there was that video and everyone was like sending it to me and like, what are you saying? I'm like, I don't know what I was saying. I remember bits and pieces, but like, I didn't remember what pitch it was. Like it's often pretty like pitch specific or like situational. And I just like, I was like, I don't know. I was kind of just in the zone. I was kind of just doing my thing, but yeah, it sometimes people are good lip readers on Twitter. Sometimes people aren't even close. Someone had like a theory that I was like saying the signs to myself. Absolutely not that. That's the only one I can absolutely debunk that it is not that. All of the other ones like are potentially fair game, but it's not that.
Gotcha. No. Well, thanks for spending time with us today. This has been awesome. Now people know the man behind the Psychopath, and he's going to keep rolling his eyes every time I call him that. But you will forever be that dude. So that's awesome. Like, you know, most people aren't known for anything. You're known for being a crazy man on the bump.
I'm known for talking to myself on the mound, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you rather be known for nothing or rather be known for being a psychopath?
Yeah, or giving up a dong or something. You don't want to do that. Like, you're known for being an annihilator of human beings. That's great. So go with it.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Well, as long as you're out there.
Who declared me college baseball's favorite psychopath? I think you declared me that.
I did, and I literally get alerts even if I'm not watching an Ole Miss game. People in my notifications, which I always read, will be saying, Wes Burton's your favorite. Wes Burton's on the bump. And I'm like, all right, I'm clicking on the game. And that shows you something. Right now, you're going to get more and more people watching. I want more and more people to watch the sport. It's a great sport. Absolutely. People like you are important to it. And I love the ability to give you a little spotlight, because you're one of the good guys in the sport, but also one of the characters. And I think that's awesome.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Rob. You were too kind. You were too kind. Well,
have a good day, and go to class and keep getting those grades up there.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
Maybe I'll be a lawyer like you one day.
No, don't do that. Your mom told you better than that.
Yes, she's already told me not to do that. Yeah. Very specifically, whatever you do, don't go to law school. So.
Exactly. All right, man. Take care.